Hello and welcome to English in Advance. I'm Jessica and I am so happy and excited that you have decided to join me today. This isn't just another lesson. This is a conversation that could, quite possibly, change your entire relationship with the English language. We are going to be talking about the one topic that is on the mind of every single English learner: fluency. What is it? What does it really mean to be fluent? And most importantly, what is the real path to getting there? If you are listening to this, you are probably at a very specific and sometimes very challenging stage in your journey. You are likely at the intermediate level, what we often call the B1 level. This is a fascinating place to be. You've come so far. You are no longer a beginner. You understand the basic rules of grammar. You have a solid base of vocabulary. You can read a news article and get the main idea. You can write an email to a colleague. You can follow a simple conversation, especially if the person is speaking clearly and talking about a familiar topic. You have achieved a lot, and it feels like there is always a but. You feel stuck. You feel like you have hit a wall, or what many people call the intermediate plateau. It feels like you are walking and walking, putting in the effort, studying your flashcards, doing your grammar exercises, but your scenery just isn't changing. You are not getting any higher up the mountain. When you try to listen to native speakers, perhaps in a movie or in a group conversation, it feels like a wall of sound. It's so fast. The words are all connected. You catch a word here and there, but you miss the main point and you feel lost and frustrated. And when you try to speak, it feels like your brain just freezes. You know the word, it's right there, on the tip of your tongue, but you can't find it. You find yourself translating in your head, word for word from your native language. You worry constantly about making a mistake. Was that the right preposition? Should I have used the present perfect? Did I sound stupid? This constant analysis and fear makes your speech slow, robotic, and tiring. It doesn't feel natural. It doesn't feel like you. I want you to know, first of all, that this feeling is completely, 100% normal. Every single person who has successfully become fluent in a second language has stood exactly where you are standing right now. This plateau is a natural part of the process. But today, I am not just here to tell you it's normal. I am here to give you the map to get off this plateau. I want to show you how to break through that wall. The answer, the key, the secret. It's not what most people think. It is not in a more advanced grammar book. It is not in memorizing another 2,000 vocabulary words. The key to moving from B1 to B2 and from B2 to C1, from knowing English to using English confidently and naturally, is one single skill. It is listening. But I am not just talking about hearing English. I am not talking about putting a podcast on in the background while you wash the dishes. I am talking about a special kind of listening, a focused, active, and strategic way of listening. Today we are going to do a very deep dive. This is your B1 listening practice, yes, but it is so much more. It is a complete guide on how to use listening to rewire your brain, to build your intuition, and to finally unlock the fluent speaker that is already inside you. We will cover why this works, the common mistakes you must avoid, the exact step-by-step methods to use, and how to connect what you hear to how you speak. This is a long podcast, so find a comfortable place, take a deep breath, and let's begin the journey to fluency together. First things first, let's truly understand why listening is this magic key. Why is it more powerful than reading or grammar drills, or speaking practice alone. Let's go back to the very beginning. Think about how you learned your first language, your native language. When you were a baby, did your parents sit you down in a high chair with a grammar book? Did they explain the past participle to you? Did they give you vocabulary lists to memorize for a test on Friday? Of course not. That would be ridiculous. For the first 1, 2, or even 3 years of your life, you did almost nothing but listen. You were in what language experts call a silent period. You were a little sponge, absorbing a massive, truly unbelievable amount of language input. You listened to your parents talk to you. You listened to them talk to each other. You heard the television, the radio, stories, songs. You were absorbing the sounds, the rhythm, the intonation, the music of the language. You were absorbing the patterns, the chunks of words that always go together. Your brain was doing incredible, complex work. It was building a mental model of the language. It was figuring out the entire system, all the rules, unconsciously just by hearing thousands and thousands of hours of it. Only after all of that listening did you start to speak. And when you did, your first words were not perfect. You made mistakes. You said, "I goed" instead of "I went." And what did your parents do? They didn't scold you. They didn't give you a grammar lesson. They just responded to your meaning. They said, "Oh, you went to the park." That's wonderful. And in that simple, natural interaction, your brain made a tiny adjustment. It registered, they said went, not goed. Noted, this is natural acquisition. Learning a second language as an adult is different, we can't deny that. We have our first language already installed, which can help us, but also interfere. We also have the advantage of our adult intellect. We can learn rules. We can consciously study grammar. And this is helpful. It gives us a shortcut. But the fundamental process of internalizing a language, of making it a deep, automatic part of you, has not changed. It still requires massive amounts of input, and the most powerful, most natural, and most effective form of that input is listening. Fluency is not the ability to quote grammar rules. I know many university students who can pass any grammar test you give them, but they cannot hold a simple 5-minute conversation. Why? Because they have learned the language, but they have not acquired it. Fluency is intuition. It's a feeling. It's when the correct grammar just feels right and the incorrect grammar sounds wrong. How do you build that feeling? You build it by hearing the correct patterns thousands of times. When you have heard, "I haven't seen that movie yet" 500 times in different podcasts and TV shows, the day you need to express that idea, "I haven't seen that movie yet," will just flow out of your mouth. And if you try to say, "I didn't see that movie yet," something in your brain will pause and say, "Wait, that sounds a bit off." That, right there, is fluency. That is the intuition you are building, one listening session at a time. Listening also teaches you the things that grammar books almost never teach you. It teaches you about collocations. These are words that just naturally go together. They are best friends. For example, we don't do a mistake. We make a mistake. We don't say a strong rain. We say a heavy rain. You don't make a photo, you take a photo. You don't say a lie, you tell a lie. You are not very interested. You are deeply interested. No grammar rule can teach you this. The only way to learn these thousands of natural pairings is to hear them over and over again in context. B1 learners who rely on translation often sound correct, but unnatural. I want to make a question. A native speaker understands, but it sounds strange. The fluent speaker says, I want to ask a question, not because they memorized a rule, but because they have heard it that way 1,000 times. There is a very important concept in language learning, created by a brilliant linguist named Stephen Krashen. He calls it comprehensible input. It sounds academic, but the idea is beautifully simple. Krashen says that we acquire language in only one way, when we receive messages that we understand. Specifically, he says we need input that is just one step beyond our current level. He calls this dollar I plus 1. The I is your current level of English. You understand this part. The plus 1 is the new language, the new vocabulary, the slightly more complex grammar that is just a little bit challenging. It's the 10% you don't understand. When you listen to material at this sweet spot, this $sign I plus $1 level, your brain does something magical. It uses the I, the 90% you do understand, the context of the conversation, the speaker's tone of voice, to figure out the meaning of the plus 1. This is how you learn new words and grammar naturally and unconsciously, without even trying to study them. This is the single most important activity for moving from B1 to B2. If you listen to something too easy, what we could call I plus 0, you understand 100%. It feels great, but you are not learning anything new. You are just practicing what you already know. If you listen to something too hard, I plus $100 like a very fast-paced movie or a university lecture, you understand maybe 20%. You are completely lost. Your brain panics and shuts down. It's not comprehensible, so no learning is happening. You are just getting frustrated. The B1 level is the perfect time to find your I plus $1 material. You have enough foundation, your I, to understand a lot. Your job is to now find a steady, daily diet of audio that gives you that little plus 1 challenge. Listening is the engine that will provide this fuel. It is the bridge, and every time you listen, you are laying another strong, solid piece of that bridge, moving you from the B1 plateau to the new, exciting lands of B2 and beyond. Listening is not just one part of the plan, it is the center of the plan. But before we get to the exciting part, the how-to, we must talk about the traps. It is just as important to know what not to do. I see so many B1 learners working very, very hard, but they are making a few key mistakes that stop their progress. I call these the fluency traps. Let's identify them so you can avoid them. The first, and by far the most common trap, is what I call passive listening. This is the learner who thinks, I need more immersion. So they play English podcasts 24/7. They have an English news station on while they drive to work. They listen to English music while they are cleaning the house. They are surrounding themselves with English. They feel very productive. But here's the hard truth. If you are not paying attention, you are not learning. Hearing is not the same as listening. Hearing is a physical process. Sound waves enter your ear. That's it. Listening is a mental process. It is active. It requires focus. It requires your brain to be engaged in the act of understanding. When English is just background noise, your brain does what it's designed to do. It filters it out so you can concentrate on what you are actually doing, like driving or cleaning. You might be getting a very, very tiny benefit, maybe a slight recognition of the rhythm of the language, but you are not acquiring new vocabulary. You are not internalizing grammar. You are not getting $I plus $1 input because it's not comprehensible. You are not understanding the message. It is so much more effective to do 15 minutes of truly focused, active listening than it is to have 3 hours of English playing in the background. The second trap is the opposite in a way. This is the frustration trap. This is the overachiever. This learner says, I am B1, but I want to be C1 now. I will only listen to real English. So they try to watch a complex drama like Game of Thrones or a fast-talking comedy like Friends without any subtitles. Or they listen to a podcast for native speakers about economics. What happens? Within 30 seconds, they are completely, totally lost. They are hit with a flood of slang, cultural references, fast speech, and complex ideas. This is not $A plus 1. This is I plus $1,000. This kind of practice is just a recipe for frustration. It makes you feel stupid. It makes you feel like, I'll never get this. Native speakers are just too fast. My English is terrible. Your brain panics, a state called cognitive overload, and it just shuts down. No learning can happen when you are stressed and demoralized. You are not challenging yourself. You are defeating yourself. The third trap is the one I mentioned earlier, the comfort zone trap. This is the comfort seeker. This learner only listens to material that is too easy. They find an A2 podcast for beginners, and they understand 100% of it. It feels wonderful. Wow, I'm so good at English. I understood everything. That good feeling is nice, but progress does not happen in your comfort zone. If you understand 100%, there is no +1. You are not learning anything new. You are simply reviewing what you already know. Review is important, but if it's all you do, you will stay on that plateau forever. You need that little bit of challenge, that little bit of discomfort where your brain has to work a little to figure something out. That's where the growth is. The fourth trap is one of the sneakiest. I call it the dictionary trap. This is the translator. This learner sits down to listen with a notebook and a dictionary. They press play. They hear a word they don't know. They immediately press pause. They write the word down. They look it up in their dictionary. They write down the translation in their native language. Then they press play again. They listen for 10 more seconds. And another new word. Pause. Write. Look up. Translate. Play. This is not listening practice. This is dictionary practice. It is slow, it is painful, and it is completely ineffective. Why? Because you are so focused on the individual words that you are completely missing the message. You are missing the main idea, the context, the flow, the intonation. You are breaking the audio into tiny, meaningless pieces. And worse, you are reinforcing the habit of translating in your head, which is the exact opposite of fluency. The fifth trap is inconsistency. This is the sprinter. This person gets very motivated on a Saturday. They decide, this is the day. They study for 6 hours. They do listening, grammar, speaking, everything. They are completely exhausted, but they feel amazing. And then they do nothing for the next 3 weeks. Language learning is not a sprint. It is a marathon. Your brain cannot learn a language in one massive 6-hour session. It needs time to process. It needs repetition. It needs consistency. Fluency is not built in a day. It is built daily. It is the result of small, consistent habits. Going to the gym for 10 hours on the first of the month and then doing nothing else will not make you fit. It's the same for your brain. It is infinitely better to do 20 minutes of focused practice every single day than to do one heroic session once a month. And a final trap I want to mention is the test-taker mindset. Many of us learned English in school, where the only reason to listen was to answer 5 multiple-choice questions at the end. What was the man's name? Where did he go? What did he buy? So, we listen with this high-stress, analytical part of our brain, trying to catch and remember specific facts. This is not how you listen for acquisition. You should be listening for the story, for the message, for the communication. When you are listening to a friend tell you a story, you are not trying to memorize facts for a test. You are just listening. You are engaged. That relaxed, curious, engaged state of mind is what you want to bring to your practice. So now we know why we need to listen, and we know the traps to avoid. Let's get to the fun part. What does good, effective, active listening actually look like? This is your practical, step-by-step guide. First, we must talk about what to listen to. Choosing your material is half the battle. Remember our goal, $I+1, comprehensible input. For a B1 learner, this means you are looking for audio where you can understand about 80 to 95% of it. You should be able to follow the main ideas and most of the details, but there should be a few new words and phrases that challenge you. So, where do you find this magical content? You have amazing options. First, podcasts designed for English learners. This is a perfect place to start. This very podcast, English in Advance, is one of them. There are many others, often called graded listeners or slowed English podcasts. The speakers, like me, usually speak very clearly, perhaps a little slower than natural, and we are careful with our vocabulary. This is a perfect eye and a gentle +1. Second, graded audiobooks. These are books that have been rewritten for different English levels, and they come with audio. You can find graded readers for A2, B1, B2, and so on. This is fantastic because you get to listen to an interesting story, and you also have the text to help you. Third, and this is a big one, YouTube. YouTube is an incredible resource. You can find channels on any topic you are interested in. The key is to find speakers who talk clearly. Maybe you love cooking. Find a cooking channel where the chef explains the recipe clearly. Maybe you love technology. Find a channel that reviews new phones, vlogs or video blogs where people just talk about their daily life can also be great as the language is often simple and repetitive. The video gives you context, which helps you understand the +1 words. Fourth, you can try native podcasts, but be careful. Don't start with a group of 4 friends laughing and talking over each other about politics. That is $100. Instead, look for storytelling podcasts where one person is speaking clearly, like This American Life or The Moth. Or look for interview-style podcasts on simple topics, where the host speaks clearly. And finally, what about TV shows and movies? These are difficult. They are not designed for learners. They are designed for native speakers. They are full of slang, fast speech, and cultural jokes. I do not recommend them as your primary listening practice at the B1 level. They can be fun, but they can also be very frustrating. We'll talk about how to use them in a minute, but they should not be your main source of learning, okay? You have chosen your material. Let's say you have a 5-minute podcast clip for English learners. You have your $I+1 content. Now what? You are not going to just listen to it one time. You are going to go deep with this one piece of audio. We are going to listen to it multiple times, and each time we will have a different goal, a different focus. This is the core of active listening. Your very first listen, let's call it Pass 1, is for the gist. The gist is the general meaning, the main idea. Your only goal in this first pass is to answer the question, what is this about in general? Before you press play, just relax. Don't try to understand every word. Don't pause. Don't take notes. Just listen from the beginning to the end. Get a feeling for the audio. Is it a news story? Is it a personal story? Is it an explanation of something? Is the speaker happy, sad, or serious? When it's finished, try to say 1 or 2 sentences out loud in English, summarizing the main idea. For example, this audio was about a man who decided to start a new business, a coffee shop. That's it. If you can do that, Pass 1 is a success. Now you are going to listen a second time. This is Pass 2. And your goal is to listen for specific details. You are moving from the 30,000-foot view to the 10,000-foot view. You are a detective looking for clues. Before you start, you can even think of some WH questions to guide you. Based on your gist, if the story is about a man starting a coffee shop, your questions might be, who is the man? Why did he want to start a coffee shop? Where did he open it? When did he open it? What problems did he have? Now you listen again. This time you are actively searching for the answers to these questions. You can pause and rewind a little bit if you miss a key piece of information. After this second listen, your understanding will be much, much deeper. You'll not only know the main idea, but you'll also know the main supporting details. Okay, here comes the most important, most powerful step. Pass 3. This is the deep dive. You are going to listen again, but this time, you are going to listen while reading the transcript. The transcript is the written text of the audio. This, my friends, is pure magic. This is where you connect the sounds of English to the words of English. This step will give you so many aha moments. You will hear a jumble of sounds like gonna, and you will see the words going to on the page, and your brain will make the connection. You'll hear wanna and see want to. You'll hear hafta and see have to. You'll hear I don't know and see I don't know. This is not bad English or slang. This is connected speech, and it is how all native speakers talk in real life. You are finally decoding the real sounds of the language. As you listen and read, you will finally understand words that you know how to read, but have never been able to recognize by ear. For example, you see the word T-H-O-U-G-H-T. You know this word, but maybe you pronounce it taught. In the audio, you hear the speaker say, dollar, T-H-O-T, dollar, and you see the word and click. The connection is made. You'll also see all those tricky English spellings like through, tough, though, thorough. Hearing them and seeing them at the same time is the best way to learn them. During this third pass, you can pause. When you see an interesting phrase, that chunk we talked about, like deeply interested, you can pause and highlight it. Now is also the time to deal with those few new vocabulary words, the plus one. You heard them in Pass 1. You understood them from context in Pass 2. Now in Pass 3, you can see the word, look it up in a good English-to-English dictionary and see its meaning. But don't just write the word, write the entire sentence it was in. He was deeply interested in coffee. This gives you context, and it's 500% more effective than a random list of words. But Pass 3 is not just for vocabulary. It's for the music of English. This is so important. Language is not just words. It's rhythm, it's stress, it's intonation. This is called prosody. As you listen and read, pay attention to the music. Notice how the speaker's voice goes up at the end of a yes/no question. Is he opening a shop? Notice how it goes down at the end of a statement. He is opening a shop. Notice how it goes down for a WH question. Where is he opening the shop? This is the intonation. Even more important is sentence stress. In English, we don't say every word with the same force. We stress the important words, the content words, nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs, and we swallow the unimportant function words, prepositions, articles, conjunctions. For example, he wants to buy a cup of coffee. We don't say he wants to buy a cup of coffee. We say he wants to buy a cup of coffee. The two A and of are very small and fast. He wants to buy a cup of coffee. This rhythm is the key to understanding native speakers, and it's the key to sounding natural. The transcript is your map to this music. You can even mark the stressed words as you listen. Finally, after all this hard work, you have Pass 4. This is the consolidation listen. Put the transcript away. Turn it off. Just close your eyes and listen to the 5-minute clip one more time, from beginning to end. This is your reward. You will be absolutely amazed at how much you understand. What was a fast, confusing wall of sound 20 minutes ago is now a clear, understandable, and familiar piece of audio. You will hear the connected speech. You will recognize the new vocabulary. You will feel the rhythm. This final listen locks in all the learning you have just done. This whole process, gist, details, deep dive with transcript and consolidation might take you 30 or 40 minutes for a 5-minute clip. But those 40 minutes are more valuable than 40 hours of passive listening. This is the work. This is how you build fluency. Now that is an incredible system for improving your listening comprehension. But we are aiming for fluency, which means we have to speak. So how do we build the bridge from this amazing listening input to confident speaking output? This is the missing piece for so many learners. They listen, but they never practice producing the language. We need to add a few more techniques to our active listening. I call this from input to output. The first and most famous technique is called shadowing. It sounds a little strange, but it is one of the most powerful exercises you can do for your pronunciation, rhythm, and flow. Shadowing means you listen to the audio, and you speak at the exact same time as the speaker. You are their shadow. You are not listening, pausing, and then repeating. Number. You are speaking with them, maybe half a second behind them. This is very, very difficult, especially at first. You will feel silly. Your mouth will get tangled. You will miss words. You will have no idea what you are saying. This is all 100% normal. The goal of shadowing is not to understand the meaning. The goal is purely physical. You are training the muscles of your mouth, your tongue, and your lips to make the English sounds in the English rhythm. You are forcing your brain to stop translating. You do not have time to think in your native language. You must go directly from the sound to speech. Here is how to start. Choose a short piece of audio, maybe 30 seconds, that you have already studied. You should use the transcript first so you are familiar with it. Use audio where the speaker is clear and not too fast. Put on headphones. This is very important. Press play and start talking along with the speaker. Just try to copy the sounds, copy the music, copy the rhythm. If the speaker's voice goes up, your voice goes up. If they sound excited, you sound excited. If they pause, you pause. You are an actor trying to perfectly mimic a character. Don't worry about perfect words. Just try to get the flow, the melody. Let's try a very short one. Right now, I am going to say a sentence with a clear rhythm. I want you to try to say it with me as my shadow. Ready? I think it's going to rain this afternoon. Let's try again and really feel the music. I think it's going to rain this afternoon. Did you feel that? I think it's going to rain this afternoon. That is shadowing. Doing this for just 5 minutes every day will dramatically improve your pronunciation and make you sound incredibly natural. A slightly easier but also very effective technique is listen and repeat. This is more deliberate. You listen to one sentence or even just one phrase. You press pause. Then you try to repeat it exactly from memory. You are trying to copy everything. The sounds, the stress, the intonation, the emotion. Let's practice this one. I will say a sentence. I want you to listen very carefully. Then, in the pause, I want you to say it out loud, trying to copy me perfectly. Ready? Listen. I've been working on this project all week. You speak. Good. Did you get the contraction, I've? Did you get the stress on project and week? Let's try another one. Listen, she couldn't believe what she was seeing. You speak. Notice that couldn't. That negative sound is so important. This listen and repeat practice builds your short-term audio memory and gives you a chance to check your own pronunciation. For a real bonus, record yourself on your phone and then compare your version to my original. This is incredible feedback. These two techniques, shadowing and listen and repeat, connect your ears directly to your mouth. But we are still missing one step. We need to connect our ears to our brain and then to our mouth. We need to practice producing our own original thoughts. This is the final and most important bridge to real conversation. I call this the listen and respond technique. It is simple, but it is the ultimate practice. After you have finished your active listening session with your 5-minute clip, you've done all 4 passes, you understand it perfectly, you are going to talk about it out loud to yourself. Yes, you have to talk to yourself. It is the number 1 habit of successful language learners. You can start simply. The first step is to summarize. Just tell the story or explain the main ideas in your own words. Let's go back to our coffee shop example. You might say, this audio was about a man named David. He lost his job, so he decided to follow his dream. His dream was to open a coffee shop. He found a good location. He had some problems with money, but he finally opened it. Now he is very happy. Look at what you just did. You took input, the story. You processed it, understood it, and you created your own output, your summary. You were practicing recalling the vocabulary, lost his job, follow his dream, location, and using grammar structures, past tense, present tense, all in a meaningful context. This is exactly what you do in a real conversation when someone asks, "What did you do today?" or "What's new?" But don't stop there. Take it to the next level. After you summarize, give your opinion. This is where you move from reporting to communicating. I think this story was very inspiring. It is very brave to start a new business. I think David is a good role model. I would like to visit his coffee shop. I love coffee too. Now you are expressing your own ideas, your own feelings. You are connecting the topic to your own life. This is the heart of communication. Let's try a quick practice. I am going to tell you a very, very short story. I want you to listen. After I finish, I want you to pause this podcast, and I want you to try to do 2 things out loud. First, summarize the story in 1 or 2 sentences, and second, give 1 sentence of your opinion. Ready? Here is the story. My sister Sarah has a small black cat named Luna. Yesterday, Luna climbed up the tallest tree in our garden and was too scared to come down. Sarah tried to get her. She offered her food, but Luna wouldn't move. Finally, Sarah had to call the fire department. The firefighters came with a big ladder and rescued Luna. Sarah was so embarrassed, but also very relieved. Okay, pause this podcast right now. Summarize the story and give your opinion. Welcome back. Did you do it? Maybe you said something like, "The story is about a cat named Luna who got stuck in a tree. The owner, Sarah, couldn't get her down, so she had to call the fire department. And for your opinion, I think that's a funny story. I'm glad the cat is okay. I think it's strange to call the fire department for a cat, but I understand why she did. If you did that, you just completed the entire fluency loop. You listened. You understood. You processed. You spoke. You created your own original correct sentences. This is the practice. This is how you get fluent. Doing this one exercise, summarizing and giving your opinion on everything you listen to, will do more for your speaking than any other exercise. Now, I want to talk a little more deeply about vocabulary and grammar, because this listening-based method is the best way to improve them, but in a way that is completely different from a textbook. When you learn a word from a list, famished equals very hungry. It's just a piece of data. It's an abstract fact. It's hard to remember, and it's even harder to use in a sentence. But when you learn a word through listening, through context, it has life. Imagine you are listening to a story. The hikers were lost in the mountains for 3 days. They had no food. When the rescue team finally found them, they were cold, tired, and absolutely famished. The first thing they asked for was a sandwich and some hot soup. Now, you don't just know the definition of famished, you feel it. You have a mental image of the cold, hungry hikers. You have an emotion connected to the word. This word is now part of a story. It is unforgettable, and you will know exactly how to use it. You will never say, "I am a little bit famished." You will know it means extremely hungry because you felt the story. When you are doing your past 3 listening with the transcript, you will find these new words. But remember the rule. Don't stop for every new word. This breaks your flow and is very discouraging. Instead, try to guess the meaning from the context first. Context is your superpower. Let's practice. If I say, "I had such a strenuous day at work. I had to move all the heavy boxes from the 1st floor to the 6th floor, and now my entire body hurts." What do you think strenuous means? You can probably guess it means difficult, tiring, or requiring a lot of physical effort, just from the context of moving heavy boxes and your body hurting. This skill of guessing from context is one of the most important skills you can develop. It's what you do in your native language all the time. My advice is to only stop and look up a word if it's essential for understanding the main idea, or if you have heard it 5 or 6 times and you are just too curious. Otherwise, just notice it, maybe highlight it, and keep going. Trust that if the word is important, you will hear it again. This is called spaced repetition. and it's built right into this method. And what about grammar? This is the most beautiful part of all. You can stop memorizing complicated grammar tables. Listening internalizes grammar. At the B1 level, you know the rule for the third conditional. You know it's if plus past perfect would have plus past participle. You've studied it. But can you use it in a conversation? Probably not. It's too complex to build in your head while you are trying to talk. But what happens when you are listening to your podcasts? You will hear these structures in real, natural context. You'll hear, if I had known you were coming, I would have baked a cake. You'll hear, she would have missed her flight if she hadn't taken a taxi. You are not thinking about grammar. You are just following the story. But your brain, that amazing pattern-finding machine, is noticing. It's logging every single example. It's hearing the music of that structure. And after hearing that pattern 50 or 100 times, the day will come. You will be telling a story, and you will want to express that idea, and it will just come out. If I had studied more, I would have passed the test. You won't even think about it. It will just feel right. You will have acquired the grammar, not just learned the rule. This is true for everything B1 learners struggle with. Prepositions. Why do we say on the bus but in the car? You learn by hearing it 100 times. Articles, a dollar sign of verses, the dollar sign, and complex tenses. You listen, you absorb, and you acquire. It's a natural, stress-free process. We have covered so much ground. We've talked about why listening is the engine of fluency. We've talked about the common traps to avoid. We've gone through a powerful multi-step process for active listening. Gist, details, deep dive, consolidation. And we've covered the essential techniques to build the bridge to speaking, shadowing, listen and repeat, and the all-powerful listen and respond. We've seen how this one system naturally builds your vocabulary and internalizes your grammar. The final piece of this entire puzzle is the most human one. It is building the habit and managing your mindset. All this knowledge is wonderful, but it is completely useless if you do not apply it. And as I said at the beginning, consistency is more important than intensity. You need a plan that you can actually stick to. You're a busy person. You have a job, a family, studies, a life. You cannot and you should not try to study English for 4 hours a day. You will burn out and you will quit. The goal is to find 20 to 30 minutes every single day that you can dedicate to this focused, active practice. Look at your daily schedule. Where can you find this time? Can you wake up 20 minutes earlier? That's your time. It's quiet, your brain is fresh. Can you take 20 minutes from your lunch break? Instead of scrolling on social media, you do your active listening. Can you do it on your commute to work if you are on a train or a bus? This is perfect. Find a small, consistent time and protect it. Make it a non-negotiable appointment with yourself, just like brushing your teeth. A great way to build the habit is to use habit stacking. This means you stack your new habit, listening practice, onto an existing habit. For example, after I have my morning coffee, existing habit, I will do my 20 minutes of active listening, new habit. This makes it much more automatic. But the most important secret to building a habit is this. You must make it enjoyable. This is my most important piece of advice. If your 20 minutes of practice feels like a boring, difficult chore, like eating your vegetables, you will find any excuse not to do it. Your brain will fight you. But if your 20 minutes of practice is something you look forward to, You will never miss a day. This is why choosing the right material is so critical. Don't just listen to something because it's good for your English. Listen to something because you are genuinely interested in the topic. What do you love? What are your hobbies? Are you passionate about gardening? Find a podcast about gardening. Do you love psychology and self-improvement? There are thousands of podcasts for that. Are you a fan of a specific sports team? Find a YouTube channel that talks about them. Do you love true crime stories, history, technology, cooking? It is all out there. When you are listening to something you are fascinated by, you will want to understand it. You will be motivated to do the work. The learning will become a happy side effect of you enjoying your hobby. This is the holy grail of language learning, when studying disappears and you are just using the language. So set a small, achievable goal. For example, this week I will listen to one 5-minute B1 level clip every day. I will do the 4-pass method. Then I will spend 5 minutes summarizing and giving my opinion out loud. That is a perfect, powerful, and achievable plan. Finally, I want to talk about your mindset. You must be patient and you must be kind to yourself. Fluency is a journey. It is a marathon, not a sprint. There will be good days and bad days. There will be days when you listen and you feel like a genius. And there will be days when you listen and you feel like you haven't learned anything at all. This is normal. It is part of the process. Your progress is not a straight line. It's more like climbing a set of stairs. You work hard and climb, climb, climb. This is when you feel progress. Then you reach a landing, a flat part. This is the B1 plateau. You are still walking, still practicing, but it doesn't feel like you are getting any higher. This flat part is essential. This is where your brain is consolidating. It's organizing all the new information. It's making new connections. It's a period of rest and organization. Then, suddenly, you'll be ready and you'll start climbing the next set of stairs. Trust the process. And you need to know how to measure your progress. Don't measure it by how many new words you learned today. Measure it in bigger ways. Measure it by noticing that the podcast you found difficult last month now feels easy. Measure it by watching a movie and realizing, wow, I understood that whole scene without subtitles. Measure it by having a conversation and realizing halfway through that you haven't translated in your head once. That is progress. You can do this. You are at the B1 level, which means you have already done an incredible amount of work. You have proven that you are a capable and dedicated learner. You have built the foundation. Now, it's time to build the house. An active, focused, consistent, and enjoyable listening is your tool, your hammer, your nails, and your blueprint. All in one. It is the path. It is the key. Thank you so much for joining me today for this very long, very deep dive into listening and fluency. I am so glad you stayed with me. I hope you found this discussion helpful, practical, and most of all, motivating. I truly believe that if you apply these strategies, you will not just improve your English, you will transform it. Now, I have a call to action for you. I want you to start this process today. Your first listen and respond practice is right here. I want you to leave a comment on this video. Tell me 2 things. First, what is your biggest challenge with listening right now? And second, what is one topic you love that you are going to find a podcast about? I would love to read your answers and cheer you on. And of course, if you found this podcast helpful, please subscribe to English in Advance, We are here to guide you, support you, and give you the tools you need on every single step of your fluency journey. My name is Jessica. Keep listening, keep practicing, and be kind to yourself. I will see you in the next one.